Arnold Schwarzenegger reveals the simplest diet change that can add years to your life. The Austrian oak discussed how one simple diet change could extend lifespan and prevent cardiovascular issues. Sometimes, just a small dieting tweak can make a huge difference. On February 24, 2026, Arnold Schwarzenegger shared in his newsletter the one simple change people can make to live longer and reduce the risk of cardiovascular mortality. Most nutrition advice asks you to subtract something. Cut carbs, drop calories, eliminate this food, avoid that one. What if the most powerful thing you could do was just add more of one thing to your diet? Arnold Schwarzenegger rose to stardom in the golden era of bodybuilding throughout the 1970s. He pushed legends like Sergio Oliva and Frank Zane during the prime years of his career. By 1980, the Austrian oak left the sport on top, having achieved 7 Mr. Olympia titles. Beyond the stage, his focus has shifted to longevity. At 78 years old, is after any edge he can get to live longer. Arnold Schwarzenegger's simple diet change to add years to your life. In the newsletter, Schwarzenegger examined a massive study that found that eating more fiber reduced the risk of heart disease, stroke, type 2 diabetes, and colorectal cancer. The simplest diet change that could add years to your life. In one of the largest studies we've ever seen, and we've covered thousands, scientists found that eating more fiber meaningfully reduced your risk of heart disease, stroke, type 2 diabetes, and colorectal cancer. In other words, in an industry filled with too much hype, fiber might be one of the highest leveraged dietary habits identified in nutritional science. The study compared people who eat less fiber. Those eating more netted 15 to 30% lower rates of all-cause cardiovascular mortality. Researchers analyzed 185 prospective studies and 58 clinical trials representing approximately 135 million person-years of data, which is about as close to definitive as nutrition science ever gets. Compared to people eating the least fiber, those eating the most saw 15 to 30% lower rates of all-cause and cardiovascular mortality, plus significantly lower rates of the types of disease that pose the greatest threat to longevity. Additionally, trials have shown that higher fiber intake resulted in lower body weight, blood pressure, and total cholesterol. The threshold for optimal benefits is 30 grams per day, with the minimum being 25 grams. Clinical trials found that higher fiber intake also led to lower body weight, blood pressure, and total cholesterol. But it wasn't just about eating fiber, there appears to be a clear threshold where you unlock the benefits. Health improvements kick into high gear when you reach 30 grams per day, with the potential for even greater benefits beyond that. At a minimum, you want about 25 grams per day. Unfortunately, the average American currently eats around 15 grams. Schwarzenegger notes that some studies suggest 95% of Americans lack enough fiber. Even more staggering, data suggests that 95% of Americans don't get enough fiber. Fiber does several things at once. It slows digestion, which blunts blood sugar spikes. It binds to cholesterol and helps remove it from circulation. It feeds the gut bacteria that regulate inflammation, immunity, and metabolic function. The researchers used unusually strong language for a nutrition paper, describing the relationship to disease as potentially causal rather than merely associated. He cautioned that dieting overhauls aren't the solution. Instead, aim for fiber-rich foods like lentils and avocados. The bodybuilding legend shared that oatmeal and green vegetables are also viable choices. You don't need a dramatic diet overhaul to close the gap. A cup of lentils and a whole avocado are both loaded with fiber. Add an apple and a handful of almonds to your current routine, and you're getting more than the average person. Toss in a bowl of oatmeal and green veggies, and you're there. But don't let those options intimidate you. Pick one high-fiber food you actually enjoy and start there, and the rest gets easier. Or, if you need help, we developed something special to help close the fiber gap. Schwarzenegger recently unpacked his top 3 supplements for fitness and health. Surprisingly, fiber didn't make the list. However, he did advocate for protein, creatine, and vitamin D, saying, "I want to start here, with what works, because that's more useful, and a lot shorter, than leading with a list of what doesn't." If you aim to live longer, adding more fiber to your diet is an easy lever to pull. Schwarzenegger believes most of the US is deficient, making it a no-brainer for those after health benefits.